Can you believe that it's now been a staggering 5 years since The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt released? Even today you're sure to still find players discussing it in depth. Whether that's due to the variety of its open fantasy setting, the uniqueness of its characters, or the sheer amount of stuff there is to do, it's easy to see why most people consider it to be one of the greatest games ever released. Developer CD Projekt Red has of course now turned its sights onto all things futuristic and is hard at work trying to get Cyberpunk 2077 out of the door. But if you're still in the mood to satisfy a similar itch you had when experiencing Geralt's third and final outing, in this video we've gathered a list of games that play and look like The Witcher 3, primed and ready to let the fantasy magic live on. I'm Aaron from Console Deals. Now let's get into things. Monolith's first attempt at a Lord of the Rings prequel, framed as an open-world action game, was a rollicking success, proving that you didn't need the likes of Frodo, Aragorn or Legolas to tell an original story set in Tolkien's iconic universe. Talion might not be the world's most charismatic fantasy hero, but then neither is Geralt. No, in a similar way to The Witcher 3, it's the world and how you approach it that makes Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor a gritty action-adventure worth sharpening your blade for. Taking place between the 60-year gap between the events of The Hobbit and the main trilogy, you'll explore Mordor's two diverse regions as Talion while seeking revenge against Sauron and his evil forces who are responsible for striking down your wife and son. What follows is a varied journey of the grittiest kind, stacked with satisfying stealth and third-person combat, a la the Arkham series, that is infinitely elevated by the pioneering Nemesis system. It's this that lets you form bitter grudges against any orc you come across, adding extra weight to Talion's revenge quest in a similar way to The Witcher 3.
Where are the servants of the Dark Lord? Kill him!
The world is tearing itself apart.
The much beloved Dragon Age series came out in the biggest way at the start of the PS4 Xbox One generation of consoles, setting players off within a newly detailed version of Thedas as a character known only as the Inquisitor, who must unite and work with all the region's races to fight back a new evil threat. Dragon Age Inquisition's world is almost as vibrant and deep as the one featured in The Witcher 3, only here you're able to experience it alongside constant companions. They'll boast abilities different to your own, letting you approach battle scenarios uniquely. The mission design in Dragon Age Inquisition is equally varied, seeing you and your crew do everything from taking part in large-scale battles to quite literally travelling through time. Similar to The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, every inch of BioWare's third Dragon Age game is packed with meaningful side missions, engrossing character quests, and a flurry of different creatures to take on. You can expect to spend upwards of 50 hours playing as the Inquisitor, attempting to close the mysterious breach, even more if you want to see everything. The cult classic fantasy game, developed and published by Capcom in 2012, largely went under the radar when it initially released. However, the newer, expanded version of Dragon's Dogma, named Dark Arisen, has been gradually making its way to current platforms, helping the next generation of players experience its RPG delights. Differentiating itself from other fantasy action games of its ilk is the pawn system, which allows you to recruit avatars created by other real-world players to fight alongside you. Anyone that loves The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is sure to find battling through the grim dark world of Grancis similarly enthralling, not least because once you master the game's hack and slash combat and grab mechanic that can even see you ride on the backs of enemies, it opens up even more. Geralt of Rivia's popular journey kicks off with a battle with a griffin early on. Dragon's Dogma equally pits you against them and many more creatures as you eventually strengthen up your character to defeat the dragon Grigori.
Already here. The Elder Scrolls told of their return. Their defeat was merely a delay. Dragonborn!
While it's hard to imagine there still being anyone yet to have delved into Skyrim's many mysteries, it is in many ways the perfect companion piece to CD Projekt Red's magnum opus, thanks to its slew of varied questlines, engrossing story, and infinitely beautiful landscapes. The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim continues to stand the test of time and be ported to pretty much every platform because there is so much to do and see, and being able to choose how to do it is never dictated by the game but by you yourself. Will you venture underground to take up vampiric duties or master the ways of the wizard? The choice is 100% yours. You might end up taking a few arrows to the knee while on your quest, but it'll no doubt be worth it as you become accustomed to various fantasy institutions present throughout Skyrim and fulfill your destiny as the Dragonborn. Much like The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, Skyrim isn't a game you want to rush through, rewarding those who explore dungeons and towns at their own steady pace. It still plays great despite being almost a decade old, especially in its remastered version.
The new world.
Some of the most thrilling instances you'll play in The Witcher 3 is when you go up against giant mythical creatures like griffins and leshers. Capcom's Monster Hunter series has made it its mission to have these ginormous epic battles act as its main centerpiece, requiring squads of players to continually upgrade and improve their gear as they prepare to take on the next beastie. Monster Hunter World for PS4 and Xbox One represents the very peak of the concept, seeing this once niche franchise very much enter the mainstream thanks to some increased accessibility and an all-new graphical engine. The range of beasts you'll come across in Monster Hunter World is also one of the largest featured in any previous title, forcing you and a team of up to 3 others to adapt accordingly in order to take down monsters as quickly and efficiently as possible. It's easily one of the best looking entries on this list too, right up there with The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt to help you stay engrossed in this large scale action. Kingdoms of Amalur is yet another cult classic fantasy RPG about to get a second wind thanks to an upcoming re-release on PC, PS4 and Xbox One. It's worth checking out too, as it serves as an incredibly rich RPG that centres heavily on choosing your class, letting you tailor your gameplay using robust skill tree systems. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt sees you upgrade and improve Geralt extremely similarly, ensuring that no one player's experience ever need play out the same. The game gets its subtitle from its self-proclaimed Reckoning mode, which will see the action temporarily slowed down so you can dispatch enemies much faster. This you'll trigger after accumulating enough fate points and will render you a much fiercer hero once you start to level up. If you're done with The Witcher 3 and want to maintain the fantasy magic via an underrated gem, look no further than Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning.
But not for you.
If there was ever a game that could comfortably rival The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt for the title of greatest open world game ever made, it would be The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. It's a very different experience to Geralt's final outing, sure, but its world is equally vast, with cool objectives and intriguing characters to seek out. Breath of the Wild very much flipped the script for the established Zelda formula, presenting the first true open adventure for the now iconic Link to embark on. The version of Hyrule featured here is noticeably melancholic in a similar way to The Witcher 3's, only here you're not given much direction at all and are instead encouraged to climb anything and everything to truly forge your own path as a hero. Breath of the Wild could easily net you upwards of 100 hours of gameplay, whether that's spent hunting down Korok seeds, completing the divine beasts, or finding the best armor sets to prepare yourself for every situation. You forged your way through The Witcher 3's continent, now get ready to restore the Kingdom of Hyrule. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt was such a tentpole release back in 2015, it's highly likely that those who enjoyed it had never played the 2 games released beforehand. And while the first Witcher title is still a little creaky by today's standards, The Witcher 2 Assassin of Kings is very much the spark that would go on to light the series ablaze and put CD Projekt Red on the map as a developer. Played on an Xbox One X via backwards compatibility, this second game still delivers a deep and enthralling story set in the world of the continent that looks great. Combat in Assassins of Kings works similarly to The Witcher 3 in that it centres heavily on magic and swordplay, making it easy for players craving some more Geralt action to slip back into the flow of things without much friction. The story follows the eponymous hero's journey to track down a mysterious assassin known only as the Kingslayer, eventually twisting and turning until Geralt is forced to question everything he thought he knew. The Witcher 2 Assassins of Kings is a worthy predecessor to the 2015 modern classic and is well worth a look.
My son, you're old enough now.
2017 marked a significant year for the long-standing Assassin's Creed franchise, seeing the series perform quite a substantial heel turn that saw it wholly transform from stealth simulator to a full-blown open-world RPG, and you don't ever have to look far to see The Witcher 3's influence. Origins casted you as Bayek to explore a sprawling Egypt, but really it was in 2018 where this genre shift was fully realised in Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Letting you play as a male or female protagonist of Spartan descent, Assassin's Creed Odyssey places you in a wildly imaginative version of ancient Greece on a journey to track down your parents. Doing so involves taking down enemy outposts, exploring islands by crossing the high seas, and just generally being an all-round warrior badass. Most of the systems and mechanics first introduced in Origins reach their full potential here, resulting in one of the most in-depth and beautiful open-world games available to get lost in. Having slaved away on the militaristic Killzone series of first-person shooters for multiple years, Guerrilla Games was finally let off the leash in 2017 to go off and create a wholly original and unique blockbuster IP. The result was Horizon Zero Dawn, which throws you hundreds of years into the future as Aloy into a world where mechanical dinosaurs roam the environment. Finding out why and how they're there serves as the main crux of this journey. It just so happens that taking them on directly is also rewarding and fun. Tussles with these mechanised beasts is always a thrilling battle of wits, forcing you to plan out your arsenal accordingly and possibly use them against each other. Simply roaming this post-apocalyptic landscape is a sight for sore eyes, rivaling even The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt in terms of spectacle. If you finish Geralt's journey and want to dive deep into another sprawling open world, Horizon Zero Dawn is one of the best options by far. And that just about does it for our picks of games that look and play similarly to The Witcher 3, albeit for their own distinct reasons. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, don't forget to like and share it, subscribing to stay up to date with all our future reviews, listicles and unboxings. Until then, we'll see you next time and happy gaming.